there's so much data on the internet now that if you know like the right reconnaissance tools, like you can pull back so much information. Crafting phishing emails now with also like AI as well, like it's just become so easy.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. On today's episode, we have Stas Bojoukha, who is the CEO and co-founder of Compyl, an all-in-one information security and compliance automation platform. With over 20 years of experience in information security across diverse industries like financial services, oil and gas, and real estate, Stas is recognized for his leadership and expertise in governance, risk, and compliance. His journey from roles as CISO to founding Compyl has been driven by a passion for automating security and compliance tasks, helping organizations stay secure in an evolving digital landscape, which is why we're excited to have him on the show. Stas, welcome to the program.
Devin, thanks very much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you, and great intro.
Thanks. Yeah, the pleasure's all mine. I'm really excited to get into some of the work that you're doing with Compyl here. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I'd love to start with a couple of minutes on your background. You know, who you are, where you came from, and how you landed as founder and CEO of Compyl.
Yeah, no problem. I grew up in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I have always been tinkering with computers ever since I was like six. When I was in high school, I ended up working for the high school, doing all of their networking, admin work. One thing led to another. I ended up getting a degree in information system security, before it was even a buzzword. From there, I ended up being, a systems engineer to a information security manager, analyst, officer, and then eventually moving up to CISO. I'm very technical. I've always been tinkering. I've always been tinkering with tech up until now. We working through the various industries that I've been in as an information security practitioner. It's the same issues all the time, right? It's not being organized, having a team, not knowing what the team is doing, having to comply with different frameworks and regulations, trying to understand like where certain tech stacks are and how well they're configured. Most of the time, nothing is interconnected, so data sets have to be mixed together from various different platforms to try and get a better picture of what's going on in an organization. Everything's super manual. Everything's not repeatable, so like everything's just a wasted effort. So we started Compyl 4 years ago. In New York. I am originally from Toronto, but I've been living in New York since 2020. And we're a VC-backed SaaS-based platform. We're the best thing to categorize us as is governance, risk, and compliance, but we do a lot more. And we're really heavily focused on the AI and automation of tasks and workflows. So, well before it was a buzzword, we were doing that. But just like the general overview of like how it works is like, if you're a new customer, you put in your details of who you are, what you do, where you operate, your general tech stack, and then it will create a task list for you, what you need to do in order to be able to comply with those frameworks, those regulations. You integrate into your environment, it pulls the data down, puts it in the right buckets, and then from there you can do tasks and workflow management over top of all of it. So everything's in one place. You can mix and match all the data sets together. You pretty much do whatever you want. So like, so from a high level, like that's where I came from. That's what where this all started, and then kind of where we're at the moment.
Yeah, that's really cool. This very colorful experience of just being the computer guy for seemingly your whole life, which is very relatable. This is why I ended up here on a podcast in front of you. It's for a very similar reason. So very relatable.
Yeah. I'm sure you get can you fix my computer? Or I have this thing and I don't know why it keeps happening, but can you take a look at it?
You know what it is? It's my mom. Every time I go over to the farm, it's my mom has a list of things, technologies that aren't functioning correctly that I have to fix.
For sure, and it's my wife's mom, or mother-in-law. It's the exact same thing. Yeah, get them a Best Buy Geek Squad subscription for Christmas.
Right. Yeah, that's it'll give us a little bit more room for our own stuff. So when it comes to the growth of the business, you mentioned that it's VC backed. You got some support. You've been out here kind of doing things. Being the co-founder, I'm sure over that time span of you growing the company, you've had to wear many hats, as the cliche goes. I'd love if you could maybe share a little bit about how your role has evolved. What was your early go-to-market strategy, and where are you at now in terms of looking for people to serve with your solution?
For sure. I mean, we're myself and my co-founder are both in information security, and we're both former CISO. So like we started the business as we started as a consultancy business at first. So we really just got a few customers under our belts, and then invoicing became a little bit more difficult, and then the asks became a little bit more complex, and then trying to manage all of that through Excel sheets and things like that just became unmanageable. So we're like, we have to build a platform to be able to put this data into it. And it all started off pretty straightforward. We got a Azure subscription. We built some like very low tech solutions to some very, very basic problems. But eventually, started building out more of a prototype. My background's engineering. So I built out the first prototype. Engineering and software development are not the same thing. Just so that everybody else knows about this if they try and go build the product. So we built the product. The company was founded in November 2020. And we had to rebuild the entire product from scratch after trying to scale it for the first year because it was just not architected properly. So we had to start over from scratch. So just a warning for people out there that are going to try and do the same thing. In terms of like where this started, I've never had to I've had to do budgets before, but they're pretty high level. I need like a couple people. I need this is what their tasks are going to be. But then actually putting that into practice by actually going out and recruiting those people, having to run the finance books, having to do the taxes, the complying with the different regulations per state and country, dealing with people themselves and their issues and their healthcare. And that's even before we have a product that's even before we're talking about like managing customers and their complaints and their problems and like trying to keep them happy all the time. On top of that, you throw in investors, and then you have to manage investors and like creating board decks and reassuring them that, you're on the right path and that you're not just spending their money on random things. Like, so the hats are very many. I think the way that I would describe it now is there's still lots of different hats, but at least they're now kind of the same color. Whereas before they were all different shapes and sizes and different colors. So it would just be having to context switch all the time between there's an IRS issue or we're late on filing for something like that. Also, a customer's complaining that like something isn't working and they're in the middle of an audit, and then you have an employee being like, "Well, I need a pay increase," and like it's just all this stuff having to happen all the time, and the context switching, which is actually quite difficult. A lot of people are not very good at it. I'll just be very blunt about it. Are not very good at context switching, and it's a very difficult and very mentally draining part of running a business. But now things are a little bit more streamlined, and that's just coming because we've gotten more people. So now we have like a marketing department, a sales department, obviously an engineering department, customer success, operations and finance. So like we've broken out certain roles and functions. So my life has gotten a little bit easier. Word of advice, like if you don't know the space, so like if you don't know marketing and sales, like definitely hire somebody that knows the space and spend the money to do it properly. Like we tried to hire, like for sales the first time around, we were like, oh, we'll just get, any old salesperson will do. We'll show them how the product works and it'll be fine. You have to know what you're selling, but like sell a very technically complex product to a very complex problem. And if you don't have people that know the space, you're never going to be able to succeed doing that. So our go-to-market, and like Devin, interrupt me if I'm going too far or like whatever, like, or too deep on any particular area, just let me know.
Well, actually, Stas, this is perfect because the segue that I was hoping for was, so what does that customer experience map look like? Like, what does it look like for you to go find people or for people to find you? How do you nurture them in? Who plays a role in that? And then, and so, yeah, keep going on this because I think you're going right into it.
So like go to market was something that I didn't know anything about 4 years ago, right? So it was like that was a foreign concept to me. I was like, just give me a playbook and I'll just follow it. It'll be fine. Or like someone must have a deck that I can copy for this, you have to understand like where your customers are and what you have to put in front of them in order to get their attention. The world has massively changed since COVID. Like people are not at their desks, so there's no way that you can really call them. People don't answer cell phones. People's attention spans have dropped to almost non-existent. So like for us, like what's worked is just serving up like most of our leads are still almost all inbound. So like inbound and outbound. So for people that don't know, like inbound is getting someone to like your website or a landing page and then converting them into a customer. And outbound is actually going and like trying to get solicit somebody at an event, which is where I'm at right now, to come and take a look at the product and things like that. So most of our up until this year, everything was kind of inbound. But what we would do is we'd focus on key areas and our ideal customer profiles. We would serve them up really specific content, or if there's like something that's happening in the security space that like they should be aware of, and then just try and get in front of them without being too salesy, and then just starting to build a relationship, and building touch points with customers. So like either that be through like LinkedIn or an email or just having conversations, like making sure that you're staying on top of what they're doing on LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn has been our biggest. LinkedIn and Reddit have probably been our biggest tools for go to market.
Yeah, that's really powerful to be able to have both strategies working in tandem, uh,
And
and really get that optimized and honed in so that the people that you are having conversations with have already kind of first they have the frame of like what it is that you're up to because of that top of funnel content. Um, but then when it comes to the outbound, so inbound and outbound are two completely different beasts, right? And being out there at an event, shaking 100 hands an hour is a lot different than having 100 people send you a message being like, "Hey, what does your thing do? I wonder if it solves my problem." In your experience, which one do you favor more, and which one has kind of proven to be more effective in your deployment of it?
yeah, I mean, we're still very much figuring this out at the moment, but I mean, inbound is I mean the proper split's supposed to be like 75-25. So 75% should be coming from inbound, 25% should be coming outbound is what is the stat that I've been trying to adhere to. So I do like meeting people. So I am an engineer, but I'm also an extrovert. So I do like going out and kissing babies and shaking hands and everything. So and that's literally what I'm doing today. But yeah, I mean inbound is a lot easier when it's working, and then you just you see the leads coming in, and that's exciting. But it takes a really long time to figure that out, and a lot of companies don't ever figure it out. And it's even after you figure it out, you still have to adjust the formula all the time. Whereas like events are events, you just have to be really strategic about the ones that you pick, and like how much money you can allocate to them, and what you expect to get out of them. So like going to an event without having a plan in terms of like what you're planning to get out of it in terms of marketing qualified leads or sales qualified leads, and then customers ultimately is a naive thing to do. Like going to RSA versus going to like a local event are two very different things. And a lot of companies don't realize that, and RSA can just be a total money pit, just like a lot of other ones as well. So like you have to be very strategic because it is a finite amount of money that you do have, either if you're bootstrapping or if you're VC backed.
Yeah, and there's a big difference between both of those things, because there's a with the VC backed venture, there is this accountability to somebody else, to a third party, for that ROI to make sure that there's progress being made and people are getting what they need out of the deal. But when you're bootstrapping, it's like, well, I can't grow anymore until I grow a little.
Exactly. Yeah,
And so
that's
you're only accountable to that part.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, then I like they both have their plus and minuses, right? I mean, like if you want to be bootstrapped, then the chances of a business becoming like a big deal are not they're slightly diminished. Where VC gives you that opportunity to go out and spend and get the right people in place and build the product a little bit faster. Um, but I mean, they have their plus and minuses. Like, there's a lot of people that are very happy just being bootstrapped, and they can, uh, fund a small team, and it's very like family oriented, and it just really depends on the person and what they're trying to build.
So out of all of the elements that you can be testing and tweaking and playing around with, you said earlier that it takes a really long time to get dialed in. Um, I'm a strong proponent to the idea that there's always, one or two dominoes that you can tip over that end up knocking over a whole stack and really moving the needle, getting you closer to that point of like, okay, yes, this is actually working. From your experience of the testing and tweaking, being in the trenches, working on this on the front lines, what does it look like for you? What has been the most effective in your testing and tweaking? Is it messaging? Is it the avatar? Is it targeting? Is it the nurture? Like, where have you, what knobs and dials are you turning that are having the biggest impact?
Yeah. So for us, like SEO took us a really long time to figure out SEO and understanding how it works. And you know, that, I mean, that was just something that we had to learn and figure out, looking at the keywords that we'd be going after and things like that. We've actually never paid for advertising yet. So we never paid, like, pay per click is insane now, because that, like, literally there's certain keywords now where you pay like hundreds of dollars for pay per click on Google. It's insane. So like we've never followed that path. So like uh honestly, the like, if there was a domino, it's going to events and getting out there and like really just being pretty shameless in terms of like what you're there to do, and like just putting yourself out there, going to as many networking events, meeting as many people as possible. Like, it's, people will open doors for you if they believe in you, more importantly than even if you have a product or anything like that. But it's a grind. Like, there is no shortcut here, and there's no silver bullet or anything like that. Like, this is literally just grinding it out.
I'm so glad that you pointed at that, Stas, because one of the things that even in my early career as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, was I was sold that you're only one funnel away. We all know that catchphrase, sure, yeah, I'm only one funnel away, but I didn't know that I had to make 348 before I got to the one funnel.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Or like six iterations of the product before you got it right. Like, yeah, there's
Right.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. But I mean, I'm not trying to discourage anyone from trying this. Like, I think it's worthwhile and fantastic if you have the proper people in your life to support you, and you have just a little bit of, a little bit of luck and a little bit of cash to try this out. Yeah, I think everybody, I mean, maybe not everybody, but people should like, entrepreneurship is great. It's a great way to build character. It's a great way to, like, make things better. But it is definitely not for everybody. It is very difficult.
There is a resourcefulness and a resilience, and I'm not using those words as buzzwords. This is something I'm sure that you can relate to from your own experience, that if you can't take a punch, you shouldn't be in the ring. You know what I mean? If you can't take the fact that I tried something and it didn't work, and so now it is time for me to pivot and try something new. Like, that part right there is really important. And then to realize, oh, hey, I might be only a few shovel scoops away from reaching gold here. What does that look like? That's the resourcefulness, is like, okay, if I could talk to a few more people in this or that space, maybe you get the investment into it that'll push you a little bit forward, or maybe you'll meet the perfect client that gives you that amazing testimonial that changes it, but it requires you to keep pushing and keep going through that. And I'm really present to that.
Yeah, and that's actually quite the exciting part. I mean, like, I actually like the pivoting, and I like the, like, coming up with new ideas and, like, and getting people excited about it. But it's hard. I mean, like, like, we haven't had like a major pivot yet in terms of like what we're doing. Like, what we're doing seems to be working, knock on wood. But I mean, there's definitely things that I've, like, seen work better than others, and been like, all right, don't do any more of this. Let's just focus on this because this seems to be working. It's hard to, like, reprioritize stuff that you already had prioritized, or like pulling people off like certain projects, and like but yeah, it's exciting. Like, I like watching things come to life, and like I like watching other people get excited about product and things like that, even if it is governance, risk, and compliance, which oftentimes it's a very dry, boring subject.
Right. Yeah, and making it exciting is difficult. But so so on the kind of in line with the idea of like, okay, here we are, we're out here, we're doing it, we're growing something, what we're doing seems to be working. What are you aiming at? What's the big thing? What's the North Star? What sorts of goals are you excited about? What's on the horizon for the work that you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So like, we always started off, like, this business was started because we wanted to help organizations become secure and actually like do the right thing. And they're not doing the right thing because they don't want to. It's literally because there's such a skill gap,
Mm.
and like, there is very little actual, like standards and playbooks that are like, this is what good looks like. So for us, like, it's always just been helping organizations succeed and making the world more secure, our North Star is like we're integrity focused, we're like reputable, honest, like we're user centric, like we're literally trying to help people and organizations succeed and protect their data, because ultimately, like, it's our data. But I mean, just this year in terms of breaches, it's just been brutal, right? I mean, like, pretty much every single person in the States, it's like social security number is now, like, address, social security number, like pretty much all of that now is on the internet. So like, it's, I mean, a lot of data has already been exposed, but I mean, considering we're generating, like every day we're generating more data than like the past 100 years. It's, I mean, yeah, so there's still a lot to protect, but yeah, North Star, user centric, integrity focused, transparent organization, trying to help organizations get secure.
Yeah, that's really powerful. There's so much going on in the world. To your point, very early on in this conversation, you pointed nobody's picking up the phone anymore. And why is that? Because 99% of the calls that we get are fake fraudsters or some sort of scam that's going on. Same thing with the emails. We're not opening or clicking on things. I just got one the other day from it, and man, let me tell you, I've been around, I grew up on the internet, like I've seen it all, and I have a pretty keen eye when it comes to this sort of thing. And I knew right off the bat, okay, when I saw the email come in, it was from the Meta team, and they were looking to hire me for a position uh, for marketing or strategy or something like that. And they put in there that the starting pay is like $180,000 and all this other stuff. And then when you click on the link, it goes to this website, which looks super legit. Had blog articles and stuff, but then you start seeing little things like the last blog article was written on March 23rd, 2023. Oh, wait a minute. All of the blog articles were written on that day, right? Oh, that's interesting. Then you go into the footer and you start looking at some of their links and the privacy link and there's nothing there. It all comes back to home. But all of it
Yeah.
was in an effort to get me to schedule a call with somebody to do my interview. And believe it or not, Stas, they were trying to get me to log into Facebook to book this interview.
Oh yeah, of course they were. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
How clever
Look,
is that? If you didn't know, right, you would have clicked on it, you would have like, and then now your ad account has been hijacked and all this the terrible fallout from it, right?
for sure. But the thing is, like, security they've had a hard time catching up. But
Right.
the like the like I don't even want to call these people hackers, because they're not hackers. They're like script kiddies. But the tools that they have access to now are like, and the YouTube videos that like show you how to do all this, like, to replicate a page and just throw it up so that somebody logs into it. It's so easy. Like, it's literally like 2 clicks. Like, there's nothing to it. There's so much data on the internet now that if you know, like, the right reconnaissance tools, like, you can pull back so much information. Crafting phishing emails now with also like AI as well. Like, it's just become so easy to, like, yeah, it's the easiest it's ever been, I think, to hack organizations and people and steal credentials. Yeah, so scary times.
Yeah, man, this is why the work that you're doing is so important, I think. And to your point, we got to be out here looking out for each other. If we're gonna be on this thing called the internet and be safe, then we need to kind of count on each other and trust each other for that sort of thing. And that's tough. But good thing there are good players out here like you who are up to it. Stas, this has been great. You've been very generous with your time and your wisdom, and I'm very grateful for that. To wrap up the conversation, I wonder if we could leave on a high note here with imagine somebody who's kind of out there up to it, trying to create something for themselves, and they're facing challenges. What sort of advice might you offer someone like that to help them keep going?
Um, I mean, tomorrow's another day, and you won't remember what happened at the beginning of the week. By the end of the week, everything changes very rapidly, and there's lots of people that have done this before that are willing to support them. They just need to find the right support channels for them, but there's lots of options.
Very, very powerful advice. If somebody wanted to reach out to you to pick your brain or work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can reach out to me at Stas, Stas, at Compyl, Compyl.com. And yeah, I will. I mean, I do check my emails. But yeah, send an email there. And Otherwise, you can send an email to help@compyl.com as well. If it's a more generic question, then the rest of the team can pick up as well. So yeah, that would be the easiest way.
Beautiful. We'll make sure to link to that in the show notes so that anybody watching or listening will be able to find you easily. On that note, if you wanted to reach out to me and my team for any of your AI or marketing needs, you can visit nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this conversation. Thanks for joining us for this, and I will see you in the next.